The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. What a glorious day it is. We've been waiting for this for a very long time as a fan base. Didn't know when it would finally happen. It's not quite on the level of getting rid of Dan Snyder. Nothing competes with that. Nothing compares to that. But after taking about 10 million steps, this is probably second place, right? Finally going home. And I know Drake hasn't been in a favorable light over the last, call it 6 months or so. It's been a rough time for him. Good to see him making music again, though. But I think it's apt today. Just hold on. Coming home. Just hold on. We coming home, baby. We missed you. Hard to do these things alone. And it took them all coming together. Mario Bowser, who has been fantastic throughout all of this, helping get this done, working behind the scenes. Obviously, Josh Harris and his crew, going all the way as high as the presidency, right? All the way to the top of the food chain to try to get this thing done, getting that land back in the control of D.C., away from federal control. And, Roger Goodell was there in attendance, helping to kind of facilitate all of this as well. As you know, the NFL is big business. And so this was something that we were hoping would finally get done. And we saw, the steps being taken. The first step was getting that land back in the control of the city, of the district. Now, after seeing that there was a timeline set and the process was kind of moving pretty rapidly, we saw the tea leaves, right? We saw the writing on the wall, so to speak. But today was monumental because I know that it's still loading. The bar is still loading, but it's at like 98% at this point. I can't see the city coming together, the city council coming together, and not finding a way to get this done. It's just too much money involved. And that's the thing you always have to understand when it comes to people in positions of power. Everybody's going to get their slice. Everybody's going to get their hands greased. Everybody's going to get a slice of the pie. And it's just too much money, especially with the NFL being involved here. And the beauty is, while the city is on the hook for some of this, they're not paying a huge chunk of this. 2/3, I'd say more like 4/5 of this is being paid by Josh Harris and his group. As you heard Mayor Bowser say numerous times, it's the biggest private investment in the city's history. I mean, and I don't think anything comes remotely close. They're putting up $2.8 billion, right? 2.7, I think it is, and some change. Like, this is something that is going to produce tons of job, economic growth, stimulate an area that has been left dormant and abandoned for far too long. And I just don't see how, and I know there are going to be people that are upset, they don't want this, they're going to fight against it. And that's natural. With everything, there are going to be detractors. There's never going to be something that is said or done that has 100% approval rate. But in the grand scheme of things, this is getting done. They don't sit down at a table here. And if you want to bring up monumental sports and that whole catastrophe in Virginia, that shit was done haphazardly. That didn't have a leg to stand on. And you could see that the bottom falling out of that. This thing was done tactically. this thing was done over a period of time. There were no missteps here, right? Every I was dotted, every T was crossed, because you don't have the meeting or you don't have the press conference you had today if you don't think this thing is going to get passed and you're going to get your stadium. You're not doing that today, right? Josh Harris is no fool, okay? You know, one of the questions was posed to him about, well, you need 7 city council votes. You only have, what, 3 or 4 people here in attendance. Josh Harris in his mind is saying, don't worry, I'll take care of that. Don't you worry, right? Don't you worry. That'll get done. We're not concerned about votes. That'll get done. And like I said, and I'm not here to insinuate any nefarious activity, but as I just mentioned to you, everyone's going to get their slice of the pie, okay? Everyone's going to get what they feel like they deserve in all of this. It's going to get done, and we're going home. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. We going home. Hold on, baby. We coming home to RFK where we belong. Feels good. Feels good. And they talked about all of the development of the area, not just the stadium, but they talked about, you know, building a world-class indoor facility, which I think is awesome, right? For the kids and for families. She talked about, and I thought this was a great point, because again, you know, once wintertime hits, you know, anything outdoors around here is put on hold, or you got to go elsewhere where there is an indoor facility. Well, now DC will have an indoor facility where track athletes and gymnasts. We have so much. It's a bedrock of talent in the DMV, right? And now you don't have to go to Philly, right? You don't have to go to New York. You don't have to go elsewhere to train where they have those big time indoor facilities. You can stay right here at home and do it here. Talked about, you know, creating neighborhoods and more places for people to live. They want to turn that into a sort of entity. It's not going to be quite on the level of like the MGM and how everything is there. Or I think Rico said it best. The Braves packed their things and they went to God, what's the name of the city? Jesus, I forgot the name already. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of the city, but they went Cobb County. They went all the way to Cobb County, out in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. And they turned that thing into a place to go, right? The Battery is what they call it there. And it's just so many things, shops and eateries and bars and just things to do, right? It's not going to be, because again, it's 180 acres, but some of it is going to be ate up doing other things. But they're doing nothing with RFK. They've done nothing with it. It's just been a slab of concrete and an eyesore for over 30 years. How could someone look at that area and say to themselves, we don't want to develop this. We don't want to do something here. I just don't understand it. And the beauty of it is, like Mayor Bowser, and we've talked about this on this program, and we've talked about it in other places before, but there's already a metro and transportation system in place for you to be able to have easy access in and out of RFK because of when the team was there. Easy access, get you there, get you out of there. So I think that's going to help with transportation. It's going to be something that is going to be great for not just DC, but I think the DMV overall. And like Josh Harris said, you know, instead of looking at it like we're abandoning Maryland, they still got their headquarters out there in Maryland, out in Ashburn, or Landover, excuse me. He said, we've got our training facilities in Ashburn in Virginia. And then if we get the stadium in DC, we're still touching all three, major areas of the DMV. We still touching. We got our hands on all three, right? So I love that aspect too. it was so much fun to hear the excitement first and foremost, all the people in attendance. I wish I would have had a chance to see Coach Joe, right? Anytime we can see Coach Joe, it's a great day for me. Because I don't know. And first of all, Coach Joe takes so good a care of himself, especially for the things that he's had to deal with in his life, losing a couple of his kids. You never want to bury one of your own children, and he's had to do that multiple times over. And yet, he still looks amazing for his age. I think people see him and they don't understand that Coach Joe's like 84 years old. And so every time I get to see Coach Joe, it's a blessing. You just don't want to take anything for granted, man. And we're not having this conversation. I mean, you got to understand the impact that this man has had on this organization and us as fans. Not just bringing us 3 Super Bowls. Shit, the only 3 that we have. For some of you who lived through the glory years, bringing you some of the greatest joy of your fandom ever, right? But we're not sitting here having this conversation for the newer fans that didn't get to experience Joe 1.0 or 2.0. Because even though 2.0 was marred with a bunch of poor decisions and people that didn't need to be in a position of power being there, he still brought us 2 playoff seasons. And at that time, 2 in 4 years. And at that time, that was unheard of for this organization. We'd go to the playoffs twice. I think let me correct myself. Twice in a 3-year span. It was 05 and 07. And we weren't doing that, right? Not until he showed back up. And then after he left, we didn't do it again, right? We haven't done it again. We haven't gone to the playoffs 2 years in a row. And we haven't gone to the playoffs 2 times in 3 years. We haven't done it since he left. Even when this organization was full of ineptitude, he still was able to get us to the postseason and gave us our last postseason victory until this past season, right? So for those of you who didn't experience Joe 1.0 or Joe 2.0, he gave us another gift. He gave us our team back. Because Dan Snyder, on his way out, wanted to give us the biggest middle finger he could by pulling an old switcheroo and saying, you know what? Nah, I'm not selling the team. F that shit. I ain't going nowhere. They trying to make me leave my house. This is my house. And Joe's like, bro, it's over. It's over. Let it go. It's over. Do the right thing. If Joe doesn't get in his ear, one of the few people that Dan Snyder used to listen to, if Joe doesn't get in his ear, he might have done something catastrophic like hold on to this mother effing team, and we would not be sitting here right now. I love Coach Joe with every fiber of my being. And like I said, when they put that new stadium up, there better be a statue of Coach Joe somewhere, either in the front of that hoe, or as soon as you walk in through those doors, there better be a statue of Coach Joe right there, a memorial, a shrine, something built to this man, for this man. All the legends were there. It was a great moment. And we're getting closer and closer to everything being official. This feels official. We just need one more official, right? Speaking of which, let's take a look at the rendering, because we've been waiting for a look at what this thing is going to look like. Now, obviously, this is a entry level rendering, right? Like you can see and kind of get a feel for what it's going to look like, but you still, like, we want to see the outside. We want to see, because that's what's going to really give you a sense of what this thing's going to look like. But I think the biggest thing to take from this, and this was from a packet that Mayor Mario Bowser had, which had a lot of the details of the transaction, some figures, and then this rendering. She showed it at the press conference. And JP Finley was kind enough to snap a picture of it, post it up on social media. This is where I got it from. And the biggest takeaway here is the glass ceiling, right? Because it's going to be a dome, right? We already talked about this. You're not building a new stadium here and you want to attract, bigger fish, World Cup, Super Bowl, concerts, you name it. They want to do that. And if you want to do those things when in January and February and December and March and all these different things, you need to be able to control the climate. If it's raining outside, it doesn't need to be raining inside, right? If it's snowing outside, it shouldn't be snowing inside, right? That's how you attract bigger events. And so I was thinking that it would be retractable. This doesn't look like it's retractable. It just looks like they're gonna have a glass roof on it, which is fine by me. I really don't give a shit. As long as you're, I just felt like when it's a nice day outside, you would like the elements to be in play, right? But if they decide that they're just gonna have it closed, and it's cheaper, right? It's a lot cheaper to build a stadium that doesn't have it, because retractable roofs are very expensive, as we could all imagine. So that's something that, and this isn't the final rendering, I'm assuming. I think this is just something to kind of give us something to chew on for right now. And it may ultimately be a retractable roof. It may ultimately look a little bit different than this, but I think this is the vision that they have for it. Obviously, you can see that it's facing the White House and the Capitol and all of that. And so you can see, like, in the background there, what is that? Looks like the Capitol. Looks like the Capitol. And you can see the Washington Monument in the background behind that. So it'd be pretty dope if it's open like that. And I think that's exactly what they had in mind when you have that visual of the stadium. It's seeing the Capitol, seeing the Washington Monument, right? And those are iconic symbols of DC. And I think it is in their minds about being able to see that through the window of the stadium, which is why you don't have any fans right there. It's like an opening that gives you a window straight into that view. And I think that's pretty dope. I can't speak for you, but that's dope. Like, when you look at it from this vantage point and you can look straight through that glass on the outside of the stadium, and you can see the Capitol and the Washington Monument, that's effing dope. Again, that's just me. That's just my personal opinion. So this is an initial rendering. Obviously, we'll get more as time progresses once everything becomes official. Speaking of which, here's what's next. So shout out to Nikki Javala for, I told you, Mayor Mario Bowser had a packet that had a ton of information in it, including that shot that we just saw of the rendering of the stadium. And this is what's next. Like, this is the timeline, right? This is how, if everything goes according to plan, this is how it should go, right? Summer of 2025, so this upcoming summer, the best news right around training camp will be that the city council has approved the budget and everything for the stadium, and we're off and running at that point. And I don't see how that doesn't get done. Like I said, we're not in the red zone anymore. We're inside the 5 now, right? When we got the word of 2030 and everything we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we were in the red zone then, right? We're inside the 5 now. So all we got to do is put the ball in the end zone, and that's what the council votes are going to be. You do that, and it's a done deal. And I can't see a way in which it's not going to get done. To me, the biggest hurdle was getting that land away from the feds and getting it back into the hands of the city, of the district, and they did that. That was the biggest hurdle. Now, I think getting council members to agree on something that's going to be fruitful for everyone involved, it's a no-brainer, right? So once that gets approved, you then go to the fall, right? tail end of the summer into the early stages of the fall. You start planning commencements for parks, housing, and recreation. So planning commences for the park, the housing, the recreation that they talked about, all the things around the stadium, right? Because they got an idea of what the stadium is. Now you got to start planning for the parks, the housing, and the recreation that they promised. So that commences towards the end of the summer, early stages of the fall. Then you get into the fall, winter of next year, so 2026. So, you get into that Thanksgiving area, right, where you're at the tail end of the fall, heading into the winter. They break ground at the site. That's when you get the shovel, you get the photo op, somebody sticks the shovel into the ground, and we're off and we're running, right? That's going to be another big moment in this process is when they finally get out there and they start breaking ground at FedEx, or excuse me, at RFK. That's going to be a big, big moment, man. Really a keynote moment for sure. Then early 2029, Plaza District groundbreaking. So again, continuing to build up around the stadium, because now you're just a year out at 2029. God spare life. You're just a year out from that stadium being ready to open up. And so you got to get going on all the things that are around it. So that'll be done in 2029. Then you get to 2030. So that's the year when the stadium is going to be opened itself. And we're open for business. And we've got our brand new digs back home where we belong. And so the summer of 2030, the Sportsplex ribbon cutting ceremony takes place. So when they open up the Sportsplex that they're building, which is the indoor facility that she talked about, you're gonna have the big ribbon. We've all seen this. Mayor Bowser will be there. I'm assuming Josh Harris and a few others that had a huge say in all of this are going to be there. They're going to have the giant scissors, and they're going to cut the ribbon, and now it's open for the public consumption. And then obviously all of that culminates in the big, big thing that we are all waiting for. Fall of 2030, they open up the stadium, and we are live back home. So that's the plan. That's what it should look like if this is executed flawlessly. The next big thing is the summer of 2025, this upcoming summer, having the council approve the initiative. Again, I can't see a way in which that doesn't take place. And once it does, boy, this has been a long time coming. Been a long time coming, but finally, we'll be back home. And for an organization, for a franchise, for a fan base that has been downtrodden for a very long time, and at certain points didn't know if we would ever be back up, I can say this with every fiber of my being. So much of this feels overwhelming to a lesser degree. Like, everything's happening so fast. Am I right, or is it just me? It might just be me, and you guys are like, nah, this shit is happening in a way. Everything's happening so fast. We went from Josh Harris buying a team and letting Ron sink the ship as far as it needed to go to get us where we ultimately are. That took a year's time, right? Come in, survey everything, see what needs to be done, start putting plans of action in place, while forcing them to trade away Montez Sweat, Chase Young, seeing that that season was going nowhere, seeing what they needed to do in terms of building up the stadium, building up the infrastructure, taking care of the facilities inside the building. Like, all of those things were gears that were turning in 2023 while he was watching, Ron and company finish sinking the ship, right? So soon as the end of that season hits, we get to 2024, you hire Adam Peters, you hire Dan Quinn, they fill out their staff. Peters continues to fill out his cabinet. going and getting Lance Newmark and Chase Blackburn and all the guys that have been huge in the success of this team, building the roster, building, this organization up the right way. And then you're thinking to yourself, it's a recalibration. They didn't even want to say it's a rebuild, but they used a different term. Okay, fine. You want to use a different adjective? Knock yourself out. It's a recalibration. Okay, but we were all thinking, okay, not all of us, most of us. I'm guilty. I can't speak for anybody. I don't like speaking for y'all. I'm guilty of thinking that, look, if you win 8 or 9 games, you should feel really good, in their first year. I'm thinking it's 7 or 8. You win 9, that's a hell of a season. Well, they said to hell with that. You get Jaden Daniels, which he exceeded all my expectations. You guys know I was cool with Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams. I said, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those guys. But I thought Jaden Daniels had a glass ceiling. I was like, his floor is higher than the other two. He's not going to be a bust in this league. I can assure you of that. But his ceiling isn't as high as Drake May's or Caleb Williams. Well, I was wrong. And I gave up that 00 as fast as my mouth could open. I gave that 00 up a long time ago, right? Like, okay. I was wrong. Big wrong. And I was so glad to be wrong because he's transformed. You heard Josh Harris, right? When Roger Goodell said, this turnaround has been great and it happened so fast. And Josh Harris jumps in and he's like, Jaden Daniels, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, right? And Roger looks over at him and like, yeah, it's a lot of good people. He's like, yeah, Jaden Daniels definitely helps. Of course he does. None of this shit happens without Jaden Daniels. Are you kidding me? Right? If that's Drake May, if that's Caleb Williams, we're not having this conversation right now. But we got the best quarterback in that draft class. We got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you couple that with the perfect coach for this situation in Dan Quinn, the perfect general manager in Adam Peters, and all of the people that they've surrounded Jaden Daniels with, and they're still building that up. You go from a 4-win team the year prior. We were 4 wins, right? Or was it 3? It's 4. It was 4. It had to be 4. Let's see. Damn. We were so bad in 2023. Jesus. Who the hell did we beat? We won the first 2 games. It's crazy we won the first 2 games of the season. We won the first 2 games of the season. We beat the Patriots. Did we win another game after that? I think we had to be 4. There's no way we won 3 games because we won 3 games back in the Chase Young 2019 season, and that was the worst. 2019 was the worst, right? Because you didn't even get shit out of that. At least 2023, you got Jaden Daniels out of that. At least you got something. We ain't get shit out of 2019, right? We didn't get shit out of it. I mean, okay, we got a division crown, right? We got Chase Young, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and we got a playoff berth because the rest of the division was ass. Okay, I guess we got something, technically. If we're being technical about it. Yeah, we got something, but we got something tangible here. Like, damn, who was the other game we won? So we beat, what was the week 1 game? We beat no, that wasn't the Jags. Who was the first game of the season? Arizona. Yeah, because that shit was ugly. But we won. Beat Arizona. You beat Denver on the road. Then I know we beat New England. I'm missing a game. I'm going to think about it. I'm not going to look in the comment section because that's cheating. Because y'all going to tell me who the other win is. We didn't win no games in the division. Almost beat Seattle. That's when I knew the season was over. We lost to Seattle. Ha! The Falcons. That Jamin Davis had that pick at the end. We beat the Falcons. Boy, Desmond Ridder was ass. He threw like 4 picks in that game. We needed every single one. So we beat the Falcons, we beat the Patriots, and then we won the first 2 games of the season against Arizona and Denver. So we were 4-13, and we went from a 4-13 operation to a 12-5 team that went and won 2. We've never done this in franchise history with all of the glory years and all the Super Bowl, because we were so good in those days that we didn't have to play a bunch of road games in the playoffs. But we've never, ever won 2 road playoff games in the same postseason. So we hadn't won 10 games or more. We hadn't won more than 10 games since 91. We did that. We hadn't won a playoff game since 05. We did that. We had never in franchise history won 2 road games in the same postseason. We accomplished that. And we hadn't made it to the NFC Championship game since 1991. And we did that all in one season, the first season of this new administration. And in the next offseason, you're bringing us home? Is this not all happening like overnight, it feels like? But if any fan base deserves all of this good fortune and goodwill, because we had so much good juju built up, because all we did was take punishment, take punishment, take punishment. That's all we did for 25 years was we got beat up and we stood in the damn corner in the fetal position, just taking blows. Bop, 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 bop. But we didn't quit. We never stopped fighting, right? We never stopped believing that this day would come eventually. And now, that good karma, man. And we're not done. I told you. I talked to the football guys. He said, I have some stuff stashed away for you. If you don't believe me, just look at last season. That's the only way to explain the Washington walk-off, a.k.a. the bear trap, a.k.a. Noah's Ark. It's only that. You can only explain Jaden Daniels' 5-touchdown performance against the Eagles, including a walk-off touchdown pass essentially with, 6 seconds to go, right? The overtime win where they botched the clock epically and miss a field goal. We go to overtime, we get the ball, and Jaden has a drive for the ages to beat the Falcons in overtime. Like, you can't explain a lot of these games. We won a game with 7 field goals and not a single touchdown. Their kicker gets hurt. Like, there's got to be divine intervention on some of this shit, right? It was the football gods. Because we deserve it. Nobody's put up with the shit that we put up with. There are a lot of downtrodden franchises over the last 2 decades. We weren't the only ones. I'm not going to sit here and act like the Browns haven't been ass and the Raiders haven't had their fair share of being shit and the Jets continue to be a laughing stock. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like Detroit, his shit was all sweet and sunshine and rainbows for them too. It's been a lot of bad franchises. We weren't the only one, but none of them went through the shit that we went through all at the same time. You didn't have to love Jimmy Haslam and some of the shit he was doing in Cleveland. He wasn't Dan Snyder. Nobody's owner was. You don't have to love some of the shit that was going on in these other organizations. Hell, you can talk shit about Woody Johnson. He's an ass owner. He ain't been tied up in sexual assault and misconduct and all that shit, though. Ain't nobody dealt with this shit. Nobody lost their identity. Nobody had their name snatched from them. That was us. Ain't nobody been through the shit that we've been through. So when I tell you we deserve this, we do. We really, truly do. And so when all of this is happening, and it's happening fast, like if we win the Super Bowl this upcoming year, and I know that's another conversation for another day. But do you understand how fast, how rapid all of this shit is happening? But again, we deserve all of this. All of it. Every single good thing that happens to this fan base, we deserve it. And this is another one of those things that we deserve. Just hold on. We coming home. Just hold on. We coming home. Speaking of coming home, Gabe Taylor has a chance to potentially come home. Good for that young man. This is what a lot of y'all wanted. You Gabe Taylor stands out there. Shit, stand up. You in the building, goddammit. You got your wish. Now, let's see what he does with it. Because clearly, I can assure you, they're looking for a safety. There's a spot. They don't love Percival Butler. They don't love him. They're looking for a replacement as we speak. And they do like Robert McDaniel out of Jackson State. They do like some of the guys that they've brought in. So Gabe is going to have to come in here and show them that because all this is an invite to the rookie mini. This isn't an invite to the 90-man show that's going to be on the road in late July, right? Into August. This ain't one of those invites. He's not a UDFA yet. This is just an invite. We're doing you a favor because of your brother, right? We're doing you a solid right here. We're just going, and he had other opportunities. I think he could have went to Philadelphia if he wanted to. He wanted to be here. He wants to be here. Well, this is your opportunity. Go out, show your athleticism, show your ball skills, show all the things that you feel like were underrated, undersold, and why you can be a hidden gem. Why you deserve an opportunity here. Because there's an opportunity. Good for the young man. Hopefully he takes full advantage of the opportunity. And hopefully you Gabe Taylor stands get exactly what you wanted, which is Gabe Taylor on this football team. I'll be happy for all of you. Because as I've told you many times, I really don't give a shit. I'm rooting for him, just as I am every single player that comes into the family, even if it's for a brief second. I'm rooting for you. Like hell, I'm rooting for you. But ultimately, until he is a member, a permanent member of this family, it is what it is, right? But just like I'm rooting for some of these, UDFAs to have a shot to make the roster, I'll be rooting for him at this rookie mini, right? To see if he can come in here and become a guy that they extend the contract to. Decide to bring him into the fold and make him one of the 90 guys they'll take to camp. But what a glorious day today has been. It's just the start, and you saw the timeline. It's just the start of something beautiful, man. And for those of you who were out there, talking about the face mask on that Marriott commercial. Somebody screenshotted the commercial and showed me. My wife's like, because this is what I told you. We are geeks. We are nerds. A lot of us are. Like my wife, I showed her the picture. She was like, okay, what am I looking at? I'm like, you don't see the difference? And I'm like really asking her like aggressively, you don't see the difference? She was like, no. What am I looking at? I just see the helmet. I'm like, really? You don't see the difference? And she was like, no. Did they take the stripe out or something at the top of the helmet that I can't see? I'm like, no, crazy. The face mask is a different color. She was like, okay. What color is the face mask usually? I'm like, oh. Like, I was really disappointed that she didn't see the difference. But that's because we obsess over the stupidest, littlest shit. Because we're geeks. We're nerds, right? Like, if I had to watch that commercial, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably would not have even noticed. I probably would have noticed because I would have just saw it in passing and I would have just kept it pushing. But if you put the helmet on, you're going to notice. I remember when the Chargers first changed up their fits, like they, the look that they have now, but when it first came out, the face mask was blue, right? It was that powder blue, right? Then they changed the face mask to that yellow, that Charger yellow, electric yellow. And I was like, that shit fire, right? And Chargers fans was going nuts. I bet you if they were to change the face mask to the gold, it'll probably be dope. It'll probably be dope. And again, it's a small change, but it's reminiscent of what it used to be, right? When we had the Redskins helmets, the face mask was gold. So it's a small change, but it might be one that they're looking to make. Again, if they claim they're trying to tap back into yesteryear and kind of connect the past to the future and bridge that gap. That's a small, subtle way to do that, right? So, yeah. I just thought I'd bring it up because so many people brought it up when we were on the Commanders King stream. I think it got brought up like at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and none of us knew what anybody was talking about. Like, I'm like, Ed be all over that stuff, and I was like, Ed, because he had just got there, right? I was like, Ed, they brought up this, this face mask on the helmet thing on the commercial. You seen this, Ed? And normally Ed be like, yeah, I seen it. It's cool or whatever. Ed was like, nah, I don't know what they talk about. I was like, shit, if Ed don't know, I don't know if this exists. And so I got at least 5 people sending me screenshots of it. And so I showed my wife, and she didn't know the difference. And so I had to show her a picture of our helmets. I showed her a picture with Jaden Daniels with his helmet on. I was like, look at his face mask. See, it's the same color as the helmet, right? And she's like, oh, okay, cool. She ain't give a shit. She didn't care. Anyway, I digress. So somebody just said the face mask was still red at the presser today. If they were going to roll something out, they wouldn't have done it today. Like today was about the stadium, right? You don't want to make, like, I saw Rio on X saying if they give us new jerseys, like they're going to spread that out. Today was all about the stadium. Nothing is supposed to top the stadium news today, right? They knew that this shit was happening, and they could have announced this on Friday. But it was all about the draft. It was all about those prospects having their moment, their time in the sun. They weren't going to shit on that. They didn't want to upstage the NFL draft. Everything's done in a timely, organized manner, right? So they waited until the draft was done, and now they gave us that information. And if they have uniform information, upgrades, helmet, all that, they're going to do that at a different time when it can have its own moment. Right? You don't need to keep piling stuff on. Like, we still talking about the draft right now. Honestly, they could have given us a whole nother week between now and the schedule release, which is May the 14th. You got essentially about 16 days roughly, right? They could have split the difference right down the middle. Next Monday, they could have came out with, or next Tuesday, they could have come out with this information, same information. They didn't have to do it today. We would have been pumped. And then the following week, you begin the schedule release, right? But they were so excited. This is what they had planned it for. And we're so excited either way, right? But they're not going to pile more information and more new news on top of this, because this is the story, right? This is going to dominate our conversations for the next few days, right? And then when you're just randomly scrolling on social media on May the 26th, the Commanders are going to just send out a X tweet, and it's going to be like, hey, check out our new threads or some shit like that. You'd be like, oh, shit. And then you got something to talk about at the end of May, early June, right? When it gets dead. So they weren't going to drop that news today, right? But, and look, they may not be changing the face mask. But we'll see. If the goal is to get the uniforms and the look not necessarily back to what it was, but to kind of bridge that gap, that's a small, subtle way of doing that, taking a step to do that. So I could see that being something that's happening, right? But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Marks, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Marks writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Marks writes, we coming home, Lou. Man, just hold on. We coming home. Yeah. Yes. He says, I'm a part of a DC government communications team and got the word the mayor needed us to help capture a big announcement. Had no clue it was the RFK announcement. Might have been the only mob member in there. Hashtag raise hail. I love it, man. So you are inside man. Like, I know you don't want to be giving out secrets, but you the go-to guy now. You just told us you got a little bit of that inside information. So you got to feed that to us. You got to let us know what's going on. Or at least after it becomes public news, right? Once it's public fodder, you can expound upon it, right? You can give us a little bit of that behind the closed doors information that, you know, we just don't have access to, but you do, right? This was a major announcement. It happened so fast. Just 2 weeks ago, we were talking about, oh my God, we got a date. Like that 2030, he's standing on business with this date. And they're serious about this thing coming back to RFK. Like, this is really going down. That was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago. I didn't think I would be sitting here 2 weeks later with them pretty much saying, oh, no, this shit is going down. And we got the exact figures of how much everything's going to cost. We know exactly what we're going to do. Here's the time frame, and here's what it's going to look like. What? Yeah, this was wild. This was wild, man. Without question. Keep us abreast of everything, Marks. You're our inside man. Keep us abreast. Stephen Dent, been a member for 6 months. Really appreciate you. Writes, no way to RFK, mom lives 5 blocks away, subways. No easy way to RFK, mom lives 5 blocks away, subways. It's more, look, it's more convenient than getting to Northwest Stadium. I'll tell you that right now. So it's way more convenient than our current setup. And so I feel really good about everything that's going to be done. To the traffic crowd, it's going to be traffic wherever. Foot traffic. The DMV is one of the most densely populated areas in the country. I don't know if there's worse traffic, and I know there's a lot of places where they like, hold my beer. I'm gonna just tell you, we in that conversation. If we're talking top 5 worst traffic in the United States, I'm thinking we top 3. So the whole, conversation surrounding traffic, it is what it is, bro. Get you some of that 95 traffic. Get you some. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Big Blue Horses. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, HTTR since 81. Oh, you came right in at the beginning of the glory years. Literally the first year of Joe Jackson Gibbs. Did the people of DC vote? Where is the billion in public money coming from? No public money for billionaires, vanity palaces, ever. So I don't think the people get a say in this necessarily. Now, there's certain things that you do have to put to vote for your constituents to have a say in. And there's certain times when, yes, you do have to put it, but that's what the city council vote is for, right? You just have to get the council in on this. Because, and I think another huge part of it is because so much of this stadium is being financed by the organization, by Josh Harris and his group. It'd be one thing if you were asking the city to finance this stadium, which most places do, which Roger Goodell said, there are not many stadiums that have been built where there wasn't more cooperation or more input financially from the city or the state that it's being built in. This is public financing, essentially. I mean, this is private financing, essentially. And Mayor Bowser said it a bunch of times, like, it's the biggest private financing we've seen in DC's history. They're putting up $2.7 billion. Now, again, I don't want to say that the people who live there, who are constituents of that area, don't matter, because they do. And there were a number of questions aimed at, hey, the budget isn't great right now. You got a deficit. You're cutting jobs. People, this, that. What makes you think that this is a good idea? She was able to combat that, and she knew she was going to get that question. And she said, look, we got the money. And that's the thing about our country, and that's so frustrating, is we got the money. It's just, what the hell are they doing with it, right? But at the end of the day, this is going to be more beneficial than it is harmful, right? There may be certain things that become a nuisance to people that live in that community, and there may be some things that, they don't want, and I get that. But at the same time, the benefits of having a stadium and the subsequent housing and the recreation and all of the stuff that's going to bring, including jobs and revenue and all the opportunities that's going to bring from having major events coming here, which is also going to drive more revenue to the area. It's just a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. So I understand some people's reservations about it, but trust me, the money exists. And that's the thing I always say when people start talking about money, the money exists. The money exists. And so it'll get done. It'll get done. It's just a matter of, can everything come together in the time frame? Because 4 years, it's 5 years from now, but we're halfway. Well, not halfway. We're about to hit May, so we're almost at the halfway point of the year. So you're talking about 4.5 years, basically, to get all of this to come together. And hopefully, if everything goes the way that they have it set up, which is this summer, the city council votes and they pass it through, you're basically looking at 4.5 years to get all of this accomplished, which I'm pretty sure they understand the timeline. They know what they got to do, but it's an aggressive timeline for sure. So we'll see. He wasn't playing when he said 2030. When he first got here, he said 2030, and he stood on business. Marks, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, it was me who DM'd you on IG from DPR's account a while back, Lou. Not sure if you remember. Shout out to the mob. If it was on IG, I probably don't remember, because I get so many DMs on IG. I get inundated there. So I'd have to go back and look at it again to see. But send me another DM so it'll go to the top of my inbox and I can check it. And I might have to switch you over from like a normal to like important in case you got some information for me. So I'm about to switch you over so you just don't get lost in the sea of people that DM me on IG, because I get inundated on IG. On X, you're more likely for me to see it. Sometimes you get caught up in the queue on X. But on IG, man, I get so many people sending me stuff on IG that don't have anything. I just stopped checking after a while because some of the shit didn't even have nothing to do with nothing. They're sending me random shit, and I'm like, okay, bro, what are we doing here? So I stopped checking on IG. I'm not going to hold you. X is the one I check the most. But if you on IG and you send me something, I might have to switch you over to my important side. Let me see. Yeah, I might have to switch you over to from general to primary, right? So you just send me something so I know, so I can find it, and then once I got it, I'm gonna switch you over to primary. So if you send me something, I'll see it, because that's usually what I check. I don't check the general as much as I used to. Anyhow, I digress. Coach T Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Coach T Brown. Right. So what's up, Lou? What's up, Coach? Statues for Joe and Jack. May have to make a place close to the subway for tailgating. I think that's the one thing that may suffer here is tailgating. I don't know if the space for tailgating will be as prevalent as it was at Northwest, but you got to make do with what you got, right? I think if and look, I'm not a stadium goer, so it's easy for me to say this. For those of you who go to all the games, who love the tailgating process, who enjoyed just being at the stadium, being around like-minded people, then that's not maybe a compromise that you're willing to make. But for me, as a person that isn't a consistent stadium goer, doesn't involve myself in tailgating very often, to me, it's a small price to pay, right? I'm willing to pay that price for a new stadium. Now, for some of you, you might be like, hey, bro, tailgating is where it's at. Cool, I get it. I understand. But I don't know if you're going to have the type of space, that you once had. But I think a lot of you understand that. Do you think there should be a parking lot for the tailgating at the stadium? # cheese on pizza. Can I just take a 30-second timeout for a second? The pizza conversation is taking on a life of its own, and I enjoy it and I love it. I went back. I was looking at the live chat the other night, and I'm like 25% of the conversation was around the pizza, cheese, pineapple conversation, and it was some of the most hilarious shit I've ever seen, right, in the comment section. And so this is why I love this time of the year when we talk draft, when we have draft parties, because we start sharing information and we start talking about stuff, i.e., we started talking. That's how the Cherry Squad was born, because I told you anything cherry tastes disgusting, right? Cherry medicine, cherry Kool-Aid. Black cherry Kool-Aid is the worst invention known to mankind. Any cherry, now cherry soda, right? Like cherry 7-Up. Oh my God, that shit is so delicious, right? But just about anything cherry usually tastes disgusting. Cherry Kool-Aid, nasty. Black cherry Kool-Aid, the worst, right? So that conversation happened, and that was a long conversation, and it spawned the Cherry Squad, right? So the pizza conversation comes up, and now that's taking on a life of its own. And everywhere I am, right, whether it's on my channel, on the Commanders Kings channel, I see y'all talking about pizza, and I love it. I just want to say this is awesome. Okay, so milk, no. Black cherry Kool-Aid, almost every cherry product, no. Pineapple on pizza, pizza with no cheese, check. My name is Louie T, and I support this message. Okay. Anyway, I do think they're going to try to carve out some space for tailgating. They're going to have to figure it out, because that is a big part of having a stadium, and the fan experience is tailgating. There's going to be a dedicated space, I believe. I just don't think it's going to be as big and as expansive as it is right now at Northwest Stadium. That's all, right? It's what you're used to. You're probably not going to have. It's going to be a condensed space, I believe. But we'll see. Now look, I love cherries. Like the fruit cherry. Oh, I love cherries. You get the right kind. I like Rainier cherries, right? They're a little bit more tangier. Obviously the dark cherries are sweet. You got to get the right ones, though. You heard the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. That's literally that. So, yes, I like cherries. Cherry flavored stuff is disgusting, though, generally speaking. All right. But I digress. Stephen Dent, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Stephen, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey, Lou, what up, Steve? Glad we back. We back home, man. Where we belong. Traffic carries traffic crazy no matter. Yeah, traffic's crazy. Like you said, no matter where you at. No matter where you at in the DMV, you gonna get some of this shit. You gonna get some of it. FanDuel's RFK is coming. You think that's what the name of the stadium is gonna be? FanDuel's gonna buy the naming rights. That's what you think? He said backyard parties, pause, at mom's crib. Yeah. Definitely throw that in there. Up the street, shit's gonna be crazy. Hell yeah. Or as my guy on Big Daddy said, hell yes. That's what's up, man. Backyard parties gonna be crazy. Pause. That's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what that environment looks like. Taking it all in, bringing my son and the fam down there, or up there, I should say. I can't wait to see what this is all about, right? Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB video channel. Right. I used to pray for times like this, to shine like this. We put in the grind like this for times like this. DC is about to get a state-of-the-art stadium. Who would have guessed it, man? 5 years ago, who would have guessed it? Not me. Not me. The impact of youth sports and DC nightlife is on the up. I'm getting to the point at an age where, even though I'm more like the people I hang around, they old, man. They my age, but they old. Like they can't hang like they used to. I'm a night owl, so I can still hang, right? But I have no desire to be out my house late at night. Because bad shit happens late at night. As you get older, when you're young, you don't give a shit about none of that. You ain't think about nothing but having a good time, turning up. I'd rather turn up at the crib. I go to a place here, a place there. Look, I was outside. If you follow me on IG, I posted, a video, a couple pictures. I was outside just a couple weeks ago, right? I'm outside sometimes, but I'm more invested in the youth of America, man. And what this whole setup is going to do is going to be, and she talked, and Mayor Bowser talked about it, and I thought that was one of the best talking points she had was, this is going to do wonders for, youth sports in DC and the surrounding areas, right? I think this is awesome, for sure. Coach T. Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Coach T. Brown writes, new stadium will have a Lou's pizza place. Yeah, they're going to have a pizza place. There'll be a Blaze Pizza or something like that around there. You damn right they will. Somewhere where someone like myself can be accommodated. Yes, indeed. You damn right there will be. And I'm going to be right out there with my vegan ranch dressing and my cheeseless pizza with mushrooms and pineapple on it. Now, if they have like a Blaze Pizza or somewhere like that, or some kind of pizza spot like that, on Your Pie or something like that, I'll probably have more toppings up there. Probably have a little bit more toppings. Onions and, peppers and tomatoes and all that type of shit. But for now, banana peppers, all that good stuff. But for now, let's keep it basic. They don't charge me for every, single topping. So, Navy Ramjet, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Can I just say that I read your email? It was fantastic. It made my day. I'm gonna reach back out to you, but I just want to tell you the struggle is real. Like, we all go through it in life, right? And your parents get to a certain age and you got to take care of them. And I'm at that stage in my life too. And my wife, and we're at that stage where you start thinking about that stuff too. So it's really cool, man, to see you juggling everything and balancing everything, because that's what life is all about. Just finding a way to balance everything that you got going on, man. So shout out to you and your family, man. Really appreciate you. Blessings to you and the family, Lou. Likewise, Navy Ramjet. Likewise. Home. Home is where the heart is. And our heart never left RFK. And we wanted to get back there so badly, and we're finally doing that. Finally doing that. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything, Navy Ramjet. It says, I'm dying to see renderings and a ton of info on what the stadium will include. I hope prices stay in reach for fans. So, like I said, I showed you guys this earlier. This was JP Finley on X. The thing Mayor Bowser was showing, like, hey, maybe I should show you all your renderings. This is what we've got so far, right? The biggest takeaway here is the shot of the Capitol and the Washington Monument in the background, which is dope. But the glass roof, right? We knew it was going to be a closed stadium. We were talking about, retractable roof versus a non-retractable roof. This seems like this is just going to be a closed roof. Glass is interesting, an interesting choice, because you got to clean that shit. You're going to have people up there cleaning that, because if that gets dirty, which is going to get dirty, right? You're going to have people, if it's glass, you're going to have people constantly going up there and cleaning it to keep it looking clean, fresh, and, and I just feel like that's an unnecessary expense, but I'm not the one spending the money, so I don't give a shit. But, I've heard people complaining about the glare, like at Jerry's World, and they'll figure all of that shit out. Trust me. Like, this is why you get to sit back, watch other people, learn from their mistakes, so you don't commit the same mistakes. So I'm pretty sure they understand, the positioning of the stadium, where the sun might be, how that's going to play into it, and maybe there's like some sort of like tent that they can use on certain days, whatever. I don't know. Like, they'll figure it out. I'm not concerned about that stuff at all. Personally, they'll figure it out. And somebody did ask about prices, Navy Ramjet. Like, is it going to be affordable? And I think it was Josh Harris who said something to the effect of, I think it was Mark. I think it was Mark Ein had a ticket still, or it was either Ein or Rails had their ticket still from 1972. I think he said it was. And the ticket was $12 face value, he said. It's like him and the marketing team, they sit down and they figure out, the prices every year. Like, the price has gone up, and I've considered getting season tickets. And the season tickets went up again, and I was like, ugh, I don't know. But I think, like, one thing that we've noticed and we can appreciate, and I haven't been there, but I've heard people tell me, is that the concession and everything is cheap. Like, Daniel Snyder was busting you over the head for everything: parking, a beer, a soda, popcorn, hot dog, whatever. You was paying out the wazoo. The prices, I heard, are a lot more affordable, and I think he's going to continue to try to do that. But like everything else in this country, inflation does hit, and you're going to continue to see things continue to go up in price. But I don't think it's going to be anything, any more expensive than what you see at a lot of the other stadiums. Hopefully, he's able to keep some of the prices down. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Swaggy P writes, I need a Ben's Chili Bowl in a new stadium. If it's only one, right? Can they get one outside of the stadium? Maybe. But, that's a signature spot. Because you see, these stadiums be built and have like restaurants inside of them. Like I was at State Farm, which is the Falcons. Well, that's the Atlanta Hawks. I haven't been in the Falcon Stadium. I was in the Atlanta Hawks. That's a relatively new stadium too. And they had like restaurants and things in there. So I would assume that they're going to have some restaurants. Could they put a Ben's in there? Maybe. But if you do that, are you hurting the other Ben's, right? You could theoretically think that, but maybe you are, maybe you aren't. If there's only one and you want Ben's, you got to go there, right? So I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. JP, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Josh Harris just did what Snyder couldn't do, and he did it in, 2.5 years' time? Somebody said they got one in the Nats Stadium. I've never been to Nats Park. So if they got one there, then why the hell not have one in this stadium, right? So if they got one at Nats Park, they should have one at the Commanders Stadium. So he did. And look, I told you, I said when I didn't say this, Drake eloquently said, just hold on. We coming home. Hard to do these things alone, right? And this couldn't have been done without the collaboration of everyone involved, but this wasn't going to happen if Snyder still owned this team. Nobody wanted to work with him. He wasn't going to be able to get the land secured and back in the hands of the district. He wasn't going to be able to get the land secured. He wasn't going to be able to get the funding, even if he would have been able, which he couldn't because he didn't have this type of money. But even if he was going to fund the stadium all by himself without the help of the city, they still didn't want to have anything to do with him. And so he did in just a shade over 2 years what Snyder couldn't do in almost 25 years and wasn't going to be able to do ever. Queen Heritage Partners, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Queen Heritage Partners writes, Lou, I grew up a block away from the stadium. No one is complaining about the new stadium, but people who aren't from there. The transplants should shut up and stop trying to change the way things were before they came here. Because it is such a transient area, those transplants have been there for a while now. Guys like Lord Brunson, and he's not complaining, but he lives in the DMV area, right? And he's not from the DMV, and he's there because of the military, right? And so many people come to the DMV, live in that area or the surrounding parts because of work. And like you said, a lot of these people not from the area, they didn't grow up with the stadium, being what it once was. So they never had to deal with that issue. All they are thinking about are all the negatives that come from having a stadium there. And they've never had to deal with that because since they've lived there, this RFK has been essentially a dump, right? There's nothing going on there. It's just a big piece of cement and concrete that was there. And so I think I've said this to you guys a ton, that people are creatures of habit. They do not like change. And the threat of change is the unknown, and people are fearful of the unknown, you know? And so for those that don't want it, it's just because it's a change from the things that they're accustomed to. They like the way things are now. Why do you have to change it? Because it's for the better, right? It's for the betterment of the community. It's for the betterment of the DMV area. And it's what the people who grew up there, who call the DMV home and have for their entire lives, it's what they want. And so, yeah, there's some people that are going to push back against this. But when it's all said and done, this train is moving in a direction that I don't think anybody can stop at this point. So, Navy Ramjet, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, my vote is for the Mob Field at RFK as the stadium name. Queen Heritage Partners, you live walking distance from the stadium. That's amazing. That's awesome. I think whatever. So, you know, what's funny is what you just said, and somebody else said this earlier too. I think it was like FanDuel. Whatever it's called, it's going to be RFK, at RFK, right? Like that has to be a part of the title, right? Because I think whatever they name the stadium, whoever buys the naming rights, we're still just going to call it RFK, right? I don't think any of us are going to be like, oh, the FanDuel at RFK Stadium was lit last night. Now it's just going, hey, RFK was lit last night. It's whatever. Like, it's like Invesco QQQ at Mile High or some shit like that. That's Mile High Stadium now. Don't nobody call that shit Invesco QQQ. You know, they might have a nickname like the Q or Triple Q or 3Q or Trey Q but I'm pretty sure they just call it Mile High. Right? Heinz Field. I forgot, like it's some shit like Incision at Heinz Field. Nobody call it whatever the hell, you know, the naming rights are. It's Heinz Field. Right? I guess people still call it Heinz Field. Same thing with Kansas City, Arrowhead. Somebody brought the naming rights. It's something at Arrowhead. People just call it Arrowhead. I think that's what it's going to be here, right? Whatever the naming rights are, it's cool, but it's always going to be RFK. And I think that's going to be a part of the name, right? JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. JLG writes, did you see the infinity screen in the new stadium? Can't wait. I haven't seen anything other than that rendering. The early diagrams of the new stadium give me Rams, Chargers, and Cowboys vibes. I can tell you this. Josh Harris went on like a stadium tour, right? We heard about this in the Commander's log video when he was talking about all the changes that were being made to the facilities and, you know, the ideas that they have for the new stadium. He went to the Ravens facility when we had the joint practice with the Ravens last preseason rather, when we had a joint practice with them. And he saw their facilities and he was like, it's beautiful, right? And he took all of that into consideration. When we went to the Jets, they just had a whole, new facility. You saw it on Hard Knocks. It's immaculate, that facility that the Jets have. Remember, they just got that stadium, and a lot of people think that stadium's already a dump, right? They don't like MetLife, but it's new. Call it what you want, but it's new. And all of those facilities are new. And so he got a chance to see that up close and personal. And we've been to Dallas multiple times, as a team. And he's taking notes everywhere that we've gone, right? And I know he's seen the Charger Stadium, right? The Raiders Stadium and the Vikings Stadium, M&T Bank. I mean, the Vikings Stadium. I forgot what bank it's named after, but he's seen all of these venues, all of these newer ones, right? Some of the newer ones are the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Chargers, stadiums. These are all brand new facilities with all the amenities. And you take bits and pieces from those things. You see the things that have gone really well for them, and then you also see and take into consideration all the things that didn't go well or have been issues, and you try to learn from those, different structures and build one that makes sense for your area and put in some of those elements, but also make it yours, right? Ours needs to be original. So, like that window that we are talking about, that view of the Capitol in the Washington Monument, that shit is fire. That's unique to us, right? If that's what it ultimately looks like, that's unique to us. Don't nobody else got that. You want uniqueness. You want something that you can call your own. So, I haven't seen anything like any renderings of like inside, no screens, any of that stuff. But I'm sure that stuff will come out as time continues to pass. But let me just say this to y'all right now. Be careful. Now that we're in the rendering phase and people are gonna be trying to get you on socials. It's a dangerous place. I tell you that all the time. Be careful, right? All it takes is one click to see how legit something is. It doesn't take you any time at all. Take you less than a minute to figure out if somebody is trying to troll you and dupe you, or if this is legit. And what I would just do personally is I would just wait. Like I remember last night, in our Commanders Kings chat, Rio had sent us the text of, he shared the X post from some random dude I had never heard of, and the link to the Axios site, which I know is a legitimate site. Axios is a legitimate financial site. So I was like, there's probably validity to this whole, DC coming back home officially. There's an announcement tomorrow morning at 11 type thing. I was like, there's probably some validity to this. But my mindset is of, I'm gonna just wait. If this is legitimately happening, and sometimes they will tell the beat reporters, hey, this is happening tomorrow, but we don't want you saying anything. So they can't report anything. They can't go on X. But we live in a right now news cycle. Everybody wants to be the one to break news. Everyone wants to be the one out in the forefront of something and say, look what I did. And so because of that, the news got out. I don't think they had intended for it to get out, because I remember Chick Hernandez saying, well, shit's already out now, because they knew about the meeting. They knew that they were going to be having that meeting and that all the members of the media were going to be assembled there, because they had to tell them so they could put it on their schedule and on their calendar. But nobody said anything. And then once the news got out and people start talking, they said, well, shit, the cat's out of the bag now. So this is happening, right? And then we got the ESPN, because ESPN, they've learned from their mistakes in the past. They used to try to be out in front of shit. And unless it's one of their guys reporting it, right, they just wait until some reputable source does, and then they come out and they put their stamp on it, right? So that happened late last night. I would just wait. I said all that to say this. I would just wait until a John Kime, a Ben Stanek, a Nikki Javala, or someone that covers this team post some shit. Then you know it's legit, right? If you're getting it from some random source, you might get got. So just be careful, because now that we're in the rendering phase, everybody's thirsty out here for the newest updated renderings. And that's how people take advantage of you, when you're vulnerable because you want it so bad. Just be careful. That's all I'm telling you. But I haven't seen any screens or anything of the sort. But I imagine they're going to do it up big. Jason Fios, been a member for 37 months. Salute to you, King. What's up, Lou? What's up, Jason? How's the fam? Blessed. How about yours? Blessed over here. What a difference new leadership makes. AP was the most important hire. Trust the process. Only having 5 picks. Masterclass. So let me go ahead while we on the subject matter, since you brought it up. The Kings and the Kings, we're all getting together and we're trying to figure out if we're going to go tonight or we're going to go tomorrow night. It's one of the two, right? And the initial plan was Tuesday night, but since we didn't know this was coming out today, we might go on live tonight. If we do not go on live tonight, I will be live tonight, and I will be live with my thorough, extensive breakdown of the draft class. Later in the week, we'll double back once the UDFA class is complete. Right now, I think we're up to 8 names, I believe, with the UDFA class. Once that is complete, which I think it'll be by Wednesday, then we'll kind of dive into that, see what they brought in there. But right now, I just want to focus on the draft class. It's only 5 guys, so we'll go in depth with those. I'll give you their strengths, their weaknesses, how I see them being utilized, what I expect from them, coming in, where they fit, and then obviously what's next. And we've kind of talked about that, touched about on that. Everybody's talking about edge rusher, and for good reason. And we've come up with some solutions, but we'll still talk about what else is next for this team, right? So AP was definitely a massive hire, without question. Definitely the most important hire. It's 1A, 1B with him and Dan Quinn because, again, a lot of the guys that are here are here off the strength of Dan Quinn. The Lance Newmarks and the Chase Blackburns and all the guys that are in the front office are here because of Adam Peters. So, and Dan Quinn isn't here without Adam Peters. So, again, it starts with Peters without question. But DQ is as big a part of this as Adam Peters is because of his connections to people, the impact that he's had on people, and people's willingness to want to go work for DQ, right? So, yeah, this thing is coming together nicely, man. I couldn't have imagined it being a more seamless and beautiful transition than what it's been from the last regime to this one. It's day and night. It's day and night. John Perez, my guy JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, are we going to have a season-long team captains this year instead of game captains? I wasn't really a fan of that. I don't think I see them changing anything that they did last year. Like DQ is a fan of weekly captains. I think that's something that he thinks is the best way to go about it. Then when you get to the postseason, you just have captains, right? There are no weekly captains. But I do think in his mind, the weekly captain thing is something that is an honor that you give the players, and it rotates. And it's also something like if you're playing against your former team, I want you to be a captain that week, right? That's something that you can't have if you just have stationary captains. So I don't. It didn't bother me any. It's for some people. It was an issue. It's not for me. It doesn't bother me one bit. But the players know who the leaders on the team are, and so the weekly rotating captains, I think, is going to continue to be a thing. I do. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Double H writes, T. Hunter, what up? Hope you and yours are well. Likewise. Man, he said, man, has this sort of thing ever happened before? It's been, 3 or 4 years? And we got a new name, new jerseys, new owner, new stadium in the works, and possibly new jerseys again. Wild. HTTC. I would say no. This hasn't happened before in this regard. There are aspects of what you said that have happened in concert with one another. Like we've seen teams get a new name and new jerseys, obviously, and a new stadium. Like if you're an expansion team, all those things happen at once. But like new ownership, I don't know if we've seen like all of these things happen to an established, organization. I think this is pretty unique. Now, I don't think we're getting new jerseys again. I just think they're going to tweak, the white ones, or they're going to give us like an alt white uniform, like that is sort of a throwback. Like, I don't anticipate the uniforms that have been established as the Commanders uniforms to go anywhere. I don't. But I do think they're going to try to bring back some semblance of the championship uniforms. So again, and that might just be in an alt uniform capacity where you still have the standard white Commanders uniforms. The burgundy ones aren't going anywhere. But I think the championship whites, they want to sort of bring that back in some element or capacity. So I think that might be like an alt situation where they wear that, once or twice a year, right? Sort of like the black ones. So we'll see. Coach T. Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Coach T. Brown writes, oh, little known fact. School us, Coach. The stadium is a part of the monuments from Lincoln to there. One reason they never knocked it down. I did not know that. And, what I have learned over the years is that if it's a historical landmark, then, because I always wondered, why is it still there? Now you're just collecting weeds. It just looks disgusting. It's an eyesore. But if it's a historical landmark, you cannot alter it. And again, it did not belong to the city. It was in the hands of the feds. So you really couldn't do anything to it. So, there are areas where I'm from, and I'm pretty sure you guys can attest to this because there are historical neighborhoods and landmarks where you live where you can't touch those places, right? And it may be the worst neighborhood in the world, but if it's a historical landmark, it ain't like I know in Florida, there's a place called Overtown, and it's crazy because if you've ever been to Miami, which is where Overtown is, literally Overtown is like one of the worst neighborhoods in Miami. And it was on First 48. That's how I first learned about it. So on First 48, when it first came out, and First 48 has been on, I want to say since like 03. It's season 27 is on right now. I don't think it's been on for like 27 years, but it's been on for pretty much all of the 2000s, just about. And the very early seasons, they were in Miami heavy, and Overtown was crazy, and probably still is. But my uncle lives in Miami, and we went to stay with him because we were going on a cruise. And he was like, I'm going to take you on a little tour. And he drove us through Overtown. I'm like, the hell is he doing? And so, I hit that, boop, boop. Let me lock all these doors, make sure these doors are locked. But he was like, yeah, this is a historical neighborhood. And it's crazy because if you're going on a cruise and you're leaving from that port right there in Miami, bro, you make two wrong left turns and you in Overtown. Like literally, it's Overtown, it's the port, and then the stadium is like 2 blocks to the west. So, and they do that all the time though. But it's crazy. And that's a historical landmark. That neighborhood, you can't touch it. And so it makes sense that RFK wasn't knocked down all this time if it's a historical landmark. I didn't know that. It was. But it makes sense because I always wondered, why is it still up? John Madrano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. I'm going to be honest with you, John. You almost got me like 5 times the other night when we drafted Cade Madrano. I almost called him John like 5 times. If you go back and watch that video, at least 2 or 3 times you can hear me go, Kane. Because you did that, John. You had me about to call that man John Madrano like 15 times. I just want you to know what you're responsible for. But you came first. You were here first. That's your territory. But shout out to my guy, John. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, the house that JD5 built. Hashtag let's go Kane Madrano. Yeah, you almost got me. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm fighting a good fight. Every time I say his name, I got to make sure I don't say John. Right? It could be the house that JD5 built. It could be. It really, truly could be. What will he be in year 6 of his career by the time we get there? Hopefully, we've already hoisted one or multiple Lombardis by then. But it'll definitely be. It's what sucks is I don't know if Terry will ever get to set foot in that stadium as a player. I mean, think about Terry. He comes in the league in 2019. That would be year 12 of his career. I guess Terry could be here. Late stages of his career. You mean you're asking Terry at that point? Terry would be probably 36 years old. Is Terry still a Commander at 36 years old? I don't know about that. I don't know. So it sucked if he didn't get to play in the stadium one time. It sucked. But again, such is life. Jay, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay writes, Club Shay Shay Stadium. Brian Prado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Brian writes, there's 2 locations for Ben's Chili Bowl. Yeah, they told me there's another one at Nat State. I did not know there was another one. So if they've already started to put them in other places, I don't see why this location, which is a pretty significant one, wouldn't have one, right? So we'll see. But if it's already in multiple locations, why not put one at the new stadium at RFK, right? John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, imagine the amount of events our stadium will have. You see John Kahn, the first question he asked, first question out the gate, does this make it a lot more likely that this city gets to host a Super Bowl? And Roger's like, I'm not here to discuss that, but yes, the answer is yes, it does, right? Of course it does, right? They're not going to have the Super Bowl at some rundown, dilapidated facility. And I told you, the last time the NFL was ever going to risk having an East Coast Super Bowl in a non-enclosed stadium was that Super Bowl with the Broncos and the Seahawks in 2013, where they had that at MetLife. I think when it first, I think that was it. It might have still been the old Giant Stadium. I don't know if it was MetLife yet. I don't know. MetLife's been around for a little while now, so I think MetLife is still relatively new. But it snowed like hell, right? It snowed before, and it stopped for the Super Bowl. And as soon as the Super Bowl was over, they got hammered with snow. Like people couldn't even get out. And I said, well, that's the last time they'll have an East Coast Super Bowl in a cold weather, up north type facility without a dome or some sort of lid on it, right? You want a Super Bowl, you better have an enclosed facility. We're going to be on that list now. So look out. We're on the way. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They've been talking about having all kinds of events. They want a World Cup. They want to host the Olympics. They want everything. They want it all. They want it all. The Booty Creek Cheek Freak. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Dave, for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, good stuff as always, Louie. I appreciate you. Appreciate y'all for supporting the kid, and I look forward to chopping it up with y'all tonight in some way, shape, or form, whether it's here on the Louie T Network or it's on the Commanders Kings. We will get active tonight, and so be on the lookout for that. I was thinking about doing a podcast episode today. I think I'm gonna save that for tomorrow because I want to have a chance to look at all the teams' drafts, see what everybody did, see which ones I like. We'll talk about that tomorrow and go through some of those drafts as well. So, but in terms of us, we're going to go over our draft tonight if I'm not with the Commanders Kings. If I am, then we'll probably do that tomorrow night then, whichever is convenient. So just be on the lookout for it. But the big news of today is the stadium, man. Just hold on. We're going home. Feels good. Feels good. Celebrate. We're going home. We're going home. RFK, we missed you, baby. We missed you. All right. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. Somebody else may be coming home. Gabe Taylor might be coming home too. Might be a 2-for-1 special here. We'll see. But you Gabe Taylor stands out there. You got what you asked for. Now let's see if your boy can deliver, right? He's getting an invite to the rookie mini. If he impresses them, they'll extend his stay, put him on the 90-man roster, and give him a chance to compete at camp. All you can ask for is a chance. So we'll see what he does with that opportunity. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Y'all know what it is. Post up. Take command. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Just hold on. We're coming home.